Hello, my dear Hoai Ca viewers. Today I want to share with you a story, one that might be the most unexpected of all. Just when life seemed peaceful again, Hoai Ca discovered something that left both Hung and little Tony completely speechless, a piece of news filled with joy, yet trembling with emotion. Could this be a miracle? After all the storms they've been through, or a new challenge quietly written by fate for their small family? Don't take your eyes off the screen, because in the next episode, what seems like pure happiness might open the door to something deeper than love itself. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell to keep following this heartfelt journey. That morning, sunlight streamed softly through the small window, landing on the table where Hoai Ca stood frozen. In her hand was a pregnancy test, two bright red lines so clear they made her heart race. She looked again, hardly believing her eyes. After so many months of exhaustion, of hope and disappointment, the miracle had finally come. She sat down, her hands trembling. From the kitchen came the sound of boiling water. Hung was making coffee, just like every morning. The smell of coffee mixed with the fresh morning air, slowing the whole world around her. She smiled, tears welling up, not from worry or fatigue this time, but from a joy too big to put into words. She stepped out to the porch, still hiding the test behind her back. Hung turned around, noticing something strange. "What's wrong, honey? Your eyes look red. You tired?" Hoai Ca didn't answer. She just looked at him for a long moment, eyes glistening with both mischief and emotion. Then gently, she brought her hand forward. Hung looked down, saw the two lines, and froze. For a few seconds, his face didn't move. Then his eyes widened. His mouth stammered, Is this real?" She nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. "I tested twice. Both the same." He stood there, sunlight falling across his face, lips trembling, and then a smile broke through one, both shy and overjoyed. He stepped forward, pulled her into a tight embrace, holding her so close she could barely breathe. "I can't believe it. We're really having another baby." Resting her head on his shoulder, she listened to the quick beat of his heart, warmth spreading through her chest. The hard months caring for Tony, the hospital visits, the sleepless nights, all of it felt worth it, now paid back by this quiet miracle. They sat together on the porch, fingers intertwined under the morning light. Hung couldn't stop staring at the little test stick as if afraid it might vanish. "My God," he said, voice trembling with awe. "Two lines. I didn't think it would happen this soon." Hoai Ca placed a gentle hand on her belly. "I was shocked too. When I saw those lines, my heart just stopped. I didn't even dare to believe it." He stayed quiet for a moment, then said softly, "Thank you for everything you've been through. I know how hard these years have been." She laughed through her tears. "I don't feel tired anymore. I just want the baby healthy, Tony happy, and our home peaceful. That's enough for me." He took her hand, eyes shining. "I promise this time I'll take better care of you. No more walking to the market to sell vegetables, okay?" They both laughed, the sound echoing through the little yard, blending with the morning breeze. Inside, Tony was playing with his ball, babbling his first words. Hung looked at his son, then back at his wife, his heart swelling with gratitude. "Hey," he said softly, "Tony has you. and now he's going to have a little sibling too. I must be the luckiest man alive. Hoai Ca rested her head on his shoulder, whispering, "Then let's keep trying together. Our whole family will grow side by side." The sun climbed higher. On the table inside the small test still lay there 2 red lines glowing in the morning light, marking the start of a brand new chapter. Hung looked at it one more time, then smiled at his wife. "Guess I'll have to buy another mug soon, one for coffee and one for milk." Hoai Ca laughed, tears shining in her eyes. She took his hand and looked out toward the sunlight spilling across the porch, where a new beginning awaited their little family. Tony sat in the corner of the room, holding his little orange ball, his dark eyes watching his parents as if he could somehow feel the strange happiness filling the house. He didn't really understand what was happening, but the warmth, the laughter, and the bright smiles on their faces made him giggle too. "Daddy, Mommy, Ball," he chirped. Hung and Hoai Ca both turned around and burst out laughing when they saw Tony trying to roll the ball toward them, laughing uncontrollably. Hung crouched down, opened his arms, lifted his son up, and spun him around in the morning light. "My boy, you're going to be a big brother. Soon, Tony, you're going to have a baby sibling." Tony tilted his head at the word sibling, his eyes curious. He didn't quite get it, but the excitement in his dad's voice made him laugh, clapping his tiny hands. Watching them, Hoai Ca's heart melted. Seeing Hung holding Tony in that golden morning light, it was the kind of simple happiness she had dreamed of for years. She walked over, gently stroked her son's hair, and asked Tony, "Do you want a baby to play with you?" The boy's eyes widened, and he nodded eagerly. Hung laughed. "You don't even know what a baby is, and you're already saying yes. That fast." Tony didn't answer. He just smiled, wrapped his arms around his dad's neck, then pointed to his mom's belly and asked softly, "Mommy, hurt?" That innocent question made them both freeze for a moment. Then Hoai Ca laughed through her tears. She knelt down, took her son's tiny hand, and placed it on her belly. "No, sweetheart, it doesn't hurt. Your baby sibling is right here, sleeping inside Mommy's tummy." Tony's eyes grew wide. He pressed his little hand against her belly, feeling something warm and new. Then he giggled and whispered, "Baby, baby." They all burst out laughing. Hung leaned down, kissed his wife on the cheek, and said, "See, I told you. Tony understands everything. He just needs love." The whole house felt alive. Hung ran to the kitchen, grabbed a few oranges, and brought out a glass of fresh juice for his wife. "Drink up, Mommy. You need more vitamin C." Hoai Ca smiled softly. "You just found out, and you're already fussing." "Of course I am. We've got 2 angels now. I can't take any chances." Tony watched curiously as his dad handed the juice over, then reached out, wanting some too. Laughing, Hung poured him a small glass of milk instead. Father and son clinked their cups, 1 orange juice, 1 milk, and the sight made Hoai Ca smile without even realizing it. Outside, the sun had climbed high, shining through the palm leaves by the porch. The little house was filled with light reflected in Tony's bright eyes, like tiny drops of dew. He ran around the yard, calling out joyfully, "Daddy, Mommy, baby, play." Hung leaned against the doorway, watching his son play his heart at peace. "You know," he said quietly, "I think this is the happiest I've ever seen Tony." Hoai Ca nodded, her eyes soft. "He's changed so much since starting therapy. I think he feels love more clearly now. We all do, don't we?" Hung said nothing. He just pulled her close. She rested her head on his shoulder, listening to the wind rustling the palm trees and Tony's laughter echoing across the yard. A deep calm settled in her heart. A moment later, Tony ran back, hugged his mom, and pressed his ear to her belly. "Baby, sleeping?" he asked. Hoai Ca smiled. "Yes, baby's sleeping. When baby's bigger, Tony will help mommy hold them, okay?" Hug, Tony shouted happily, eyes glowing like stars. Hung couldn't help himself. He scooped Tony up and kissed his forehead loudly. "That's my boy. You'll help mommy take care of your baby sibling, right?" Tony nodded hard, then pointed to the yard, signaling he wanted to go for a walk. Hung took Hoai Ca's hand and Tony's tiny one in the other as they stepped out into the sunlight. The three of them stood together, looking up at the bright blue sky. "I think our next baby's going to be full of joy," Hung said, watching Tony play with the fallen leaves. "Yeah," Hoai Ca replied, smiling, "because they'll have Tony and you and me." When Tony heard his name, he turned around, ran back, and threw his arms around both of them. He looked up and said one perfect word, "Family." That one word made them both freeze. Hung bent down, pulled his son close, tears glistening as he laughed. "That's right, Tony. Our family." Golden sunlight filled the yard. Tony's laughter rang through the air like a song at dawn. Hoai Ca watched her husband and son, her hand resting gently on her belly, where a new life was quietly growing. Her voice trembled, but was full of warmth. "You know, maybe the real miracle isn't when Tony learned to speak, but when we all learned how to love." Hung nodded, squeezing her hand. "Yeah, and I believe the best is still ahead." Outside, the late sunlight shimmered across the old tiled roof. Tony kept running around the yard, his laughter echoing everywhere. Inside that little home, happiness bloomed, simple, warm, and beautifully complete. That night, the little house felt unusually quiet. A warm, yellow light spilled across the old sofa where the three of them sat together after a long, emotional day. Tony was in the middle, his head resting on his mother's shoulder, his tiny hand wrapped around his father's finger. Outside, the crickets sang, and the wind drifted through the open window, carrying the faint scent of the fields. Hung sat silently watching the slow rhythm of his son's breathing. A deep peace filled his heart, mixed with gratitude. For all the storms they had survived, for the simple fact that the two people he loved most were still right there beside him. He remembered the days when Tony couldn't speak, yet the long nights at the hospital, the sweat, the tears. And now, that same little boy was asleep in his mother's arms, smiling every now and then in his dreams. Hoai Ca brushed her son's hair gently, then looked up at her husband. Her eyes were soft, the lamplight making them glimmer. "Honey," she whispered, "I still can't believe it, that we're really having another baby." Hung smiled and took her hand. "Yeah, when I saw those two red lines, it felt unreal. It all happened so fast. But I'm happy Tony's going to have a little brother or sister, She nodded, her voice calm and tender. I know the future might still be tough, but somehow I'm not scared anymore. With you and Tony here, I feel stronger. He didn't say anything for a while. His eyes moved around the room, the old painted walls, the floral curtains his mom had sewn, Tony's toy truck lying on its side on the floor. All those ordinary things suddenly felt precious. He took a deep breath and said quietly, I'm going to work even harder. I want our kids to have a happy childhood. No worries, no fear. Tony will have a place to play. The baby will have their own room. And you won't have to struggle like before. Hoai Ca smiled, her eyes glistening. You always think ahead, she teased softly. But I like that. As long as you believe, and I believe we can get through anything. Tony stirred, opened his eyes halfway, and murmured, Daddy, Mommy. They both laughed. Hung kissed his son's forehead and whispered, Go back to sleep, buddy. Tomorrow's a brand new day. The room grew quiet again. Just the soft hum of the fan and the warm light wrapping around the three of them. Hung's hand held hers tightly, his other hand resting on Tony's chest, as if trying to hold their whole world in his palms. I think, he said softly, when Tony grows up, I'll tell him about the day he said his first word. And for the baby, I'll tell them they came to us when our family was the happiest it had ever been. Hoai Ca nodded, her voice trembling but gentle. I want our kids to know that no matter how hard life gets, their parents were always there. Happiness isn't about money. It's about moments like this, sitting together, safe and peaceful. Hung smiled and squeezed her hand tighter. Tony had fallen back asleep, his breathing steady, his cheeks warm and pink. They both looked at him, their eyes full of love. Outside, the wind rustled the palm leaves, as if whispering a quiet blessing. Honey, she said softly, tomorrow, let's plant a few more vegetables behind the house. I want the kids to grow up seeing how life comes from the soil, to touch it, water it, and watch it grow. Yeah, Hung replied, smiling. And I'll build a swing too for them to play on, and for you to sit and read. Our home will always be full of laughter, okay? She leaned her head on his shoulder and whispered, I believe it will. The three of them stayed there under the soft glow of the lamp, a simple moment that somehow felt sacred. Hung looked at his wife, then at his son. For the first time, the future didn't seem scary. It felt like a picture slowly coming together, painted in three warm colors: faith, love, and hope. Outside, the night deepened. But inside that little house, the light was still on. And on that old sofa where the three of them sat close together, happiness was quietly growing steady and real, just like the love they had for each other.